how can I support myself truly, you know? I have that phrase, like, art that feeds the soul. Like, how do you really do that? How can art really support me and support other people, truly? Hey everybody, Andrew Gable here, and decided to make a video today, and I've been wanting to make this video, I think, for quite a while, and this has to do with a painting process that I have been opening up, but that I am opening up again for myself. It's been, you know, one could say it's been a lifelong process for me, but more specifically, over the last couple years, I have ventured back into painting. So I studied drawing and painting in school, and you know, I was like, I wanted to be an artist, and I wanted to do that for my career, and it was my passion and all that stuff. And I spent, you know, my 20s, especially my early 20s, up to about 28, like painting a lot, like all the time. And that was my career and my profession and what I wanted to do, although I was not very successful, financially speaking, during that time. Since then, I moved into doing stone carvings, and that sort of became my artistic output, my artistic expression. And I have, through the years, through that time, continued to paint, and have picked it up and dropped it, and picked it up and dropped it, and picked it up and dropped it. And honestly, it became somewhat of an emotional process for me. Too emotional. But at the same time, it challenged me to question why it was the way it was, and why couldn't I have this be something that I could sustain with it at any length of time within my life. And so here I am again, and I've started doing some paintings, and I just wanted to make a video to share that process. That's what this video is. I'm essentially going to talk a little bit about my painting process and what's going on within it. And so we'll see how it goes. This might be the only video that I do, and hopefully not. Hopefully I do a lot, because, and it's like an experiment, you know, it's an experiment in painting, in artistic output. Making a video is an artistic thing. It's an extension of my artistic expression and my painting expression. I guess I'll just talk about, like, my starting point this time around with the paintings. And, you know, this has been probably the most challenging thing to sort of nail down as a starting point, because, you know, I guess I've made sculptures for the last 7 years, and it's like a different expression, and it feels like a different expression in a way. Or maybe I should say that I've always sort of been, no, you could say, driven to have painting be a part of my life. And honestly, sometimes I don't even know why. And that's kind of been a point of frustration, is that sometimes I'm like, why? Like, why am I even trying to do this? Like, do I even want to do it? It's like, it got to the point where it's like, I don't even know if I like painting anymore. I don't even know if I like art, you know? I mean, not necessarily like, I suppose there were moments where I felt like, you know, who's making the decisions? Who's making my decisions? You know, is this something I genuinely, truly want to do? And that's sort of been the focus of when I move into painting. And it's been interesting because over the last, I would say 3 years, you could even go back maybe 5 years. Honestly, you could go back 10 years. I have been attempting to create my painting practice into something that is a part of my life. And it is, and it has been, but it's been so intermittent that it's never felt like it's really ever arrived in any substantial way. I've had moments where it's sort of got a little bit of traction and got its footing, but ultimately it ends up not becoming anything. And I've always wondered why that was. And so here I am. I'm in my painting studio and I'm making some paintings. And so I just thought I would talk about the process a little bit, because it's like, I don't even know what the trick is. I don't know how to make paintings a really substantial part of my life. I don't know if I'm gonna walk out of the studio tomorrow and never come back in again. But I'm in the studio today, so I guess that's really all I have to work with. And as much as I want it to continue forward and become something that enriches myself and my life, that time will be the test, and we will find out. Which makes these videos kind of tricky to do, because, you know, have you ever experienced doing something, you know, and making a commitment and then verbalizing that commitment, and then it kind of loses its meaning, and then you end up not doing it anymore? Because I've experienced that, and it's kind of it's like, what's the word? It's embarrassing. What else? It's frustrating also, because you are well-intentioned, and sometimes things seem so clear in your mind, and they seem like, oh my God, this could work. This could be so amazing. You could see the whole picture. So the question is, why don't those things ever materialize? And, you know, so that's a question that I have, and that's in some ways a part of this process of painting for me, because I've reached this point of, you know, trying to get my starting point to a self-honest point, or something that will be with me, will have traction and stand the test of time. You know, if I'm just doing it for money, it probably won't work out. If I'm just doing it for some other self-indulgent reason, maybe it won't work out. Maybe it will. Who knows? Maybe if I just do it for money, maybe it will work out. And that's the whole dynamic, and that's what I deal with. And a lot of the times it's like, I'm like, don't even think about any of that. It's irrelevant. Just get in the studio and get your brush in your hand and start putting paint on the canvas, because, you know, you can think about things forever, but the key is to actually do them, obviously. So I've been pushing that point a little bit more. I got this painting behind me. This is an interesting painting because you can see these two figures. I don't know, the light might be glaring on it, but I'll put up a photo maybe so you can see it. But it's these figures, and they're kind of dancing and they're smiling. And the reason, the colors are joyous. You know, I asked myself, like, okay, well, what would the colors be that would sort of complement this dancing, joyous experience? And the reason I did this painting, or started this painting, was because a lot of my paintings are very somber and depressing looking, or maybe scary or dark. They have like a dark edge to them. And so I thought, okay, well, let me try a painting where I'm painting a joyous, expressive, happy painting as a support for me to challenge myself to paint a painting like this, to paint something that maybe I normally wouldn't, to allow myself to consider what is a happy color, what is a joyous color, what is a joyous experience, and to support myself to actually bring that part of reality into myself and into my life. And so that is a dimension of the starting point that I have for coming in the studio, which is, how can I support myself truly? You know, I have that phrase, like, art that feeds the soul. Like, how do you really do that? How can art really support me and support other people, truly. It's interesting because art these days, or not these days, but like art has a history of being for the elite and for a very tiny crowd. And so my question has been, well, how do I make it something that can be more for everybody? Well, can I make something for everybody? Because I feel like that's something that would feed my soul. I feel like being able to share the real experience of painting and the real experience of myself as a human being will feed my soul and feed other people's souls. And I think that's the whole point. Isn't that what art is supposed to be about? So it's a question I have, and so then I go into the studio and I'm exploring, and it's very experimental. And I think it's important for me to embrace anything that might come through, and whether it's happy, whether it's dark. I ultimately am exploring myself as a person in the studio, and I'm sharing my process because I find also the parts of the creative process to be interesting, like, you know, like your palette. Like palettes, like they look really cool. Like everyone's got their own system of how they paint. And, you know, I think that's interesting too. You know, colors are interesting, what colors you use. So we'll see if I get to that and I get to share and talk about that stuff, you know. But for now, I'm painting this painting and I'm not using photo references. And you know what? I think I've said enough in this video. But I'll talk about photo references and sort of my position with creating these particular works and my approach to painting and how I do it and what I'm trying to do. And we'll see what happens. But anyways, thanks for watching, and hopefully can do some more videos and you guys can follow along a little closer in the creative process.